What's happening, guys? Supernova here, back with another video, and this is going to be my no bullshit review for the Callisto Protocol. But before we get into it, just a reminder, this channel is not monetized by YouTube. What does that mean? That means that I don't make any money on any of the content that you see here on my channel. So if you'd like to support this channel monetarily, you can do so by sending a donation via either Cash App or Venmo, or consider becoming a patron over at Patreon. Links to all these sites are in the description. Now, with that shit out of the way, let's get into this no bullshit review of the Callisto Protocol. And we're going to start by answering a very simple question. What is the Callisto Protocol? The Callisto Protocol is a third-person survival horror game that's a spiritual successor to Dead Space that's actually made by some of the people who co-created and worked on the original Dead Space. This is something that I think is honestly going to work against this game more than it's going to work for this game. Because obviously the comparisons to Dead Space, you can't not make those comparisons, right? And honestly, that's not something they were trying to shy away from, right? Like they were pretty much saying, hey, this is like a new reincarnated version of Dead Space. This is not Dead Space because we don't own the rights to that game. EA does, but this is, if we were to make Dead Space again, that's what the Callisto Protocol is. And I appreciate what they were going for here. I really do. And when I first saw trailers of the Callisto Protocol, I thought it looked really, really good. It was gory. Graphically, it looked like it was not the greatest looking game of all time, but pretty graphically impressive. And it was a game that I was very, very excited for, especially because Dead Space is one of my most favorite survival horror games. And I think a good argument could be made that it's possibly the best sci-fi horror game ever made. I really, really love the original Dead Space. So between the trailers for Callisto Protocol that looked good, and knowing that members of the original Dead Space team were making this game, I was very, very hyped and excited for this game. Unfortunately, I feel that the team that made this game made some decisions, and I understand why they did it, because they didn't just want to make a Dead Space clone, right? I mean, this game was going to be compared to Dead Space, that's unavoidable, but they didn't just want to make a straight up Dead Space clone. So what they've done is made a game that at its foundation is very much a Dead Space clone, yes, but then they made several decisions to differentiate this game from Dead Space, to make it different from Dead Space. And I honestly don't think a lot of those decisions worked. I think a lot of those decisions, not that they were the wrong decision, it's just that the execution wasn't there, right? Like, it's not paying off in the way I think they thought it would. But before I get into the negatives and the things about the game that I didn't like or that I didn't think worked well, let's talk about the goods, because there are some goods when it comes to this game. This game, graphically, I think it's a really good looking game. Is it the best looking game I've ever seen? No, but it is a pretty damn good looking game. And considering the fact that this is a cross-gen game that was built in Unreal Engine 4, you look around and you just think to yourself, man, imagine if this was a next-gen only or now current-gen only game built in Unreal Engine 5. This thing would be a fucking looker. But be that as it may, Callisto Protocol is still a very, very good-looking game. Also, the sound design. The sound design in this game, just like with Dead Space, is very, very good. A lot of the environments, they're very atmospheric and moody. There's always weird clangs and creaks and all kinds of fucking weird noises to make you fucking kind of on your toes, right? It always sounds like there's something coming from somewhere, because there's just constant noises all the time, and all these different sounds, and like I said, it's a very atmospheric game, a very moody game, so they really nailed that aspect of this game. Also, weapons and creatures, they all sound fantastic. And the voice acting, it's okay. Like, it's not terrible. It's also not, like, the best I've ever heard. I mean, I just came off of fucking God of War Ragnarok, and it's not quite to that level, but, overall, the voice acting is decent, especially for the main characters. And the main characters are people you may recognize. The main character, the one you play as, Jacob, is voiced by, and they use the likeness of, Josh Duhamel, who you may recognize from the Transformers movies. And then the other main character is actually the girl that plays Kamiko in The Boys. And they both do a decent enough job. But the voice acting, it's okay. Another plus is the gore. This game has a lot of great gore and a lot of really cool kill animations for both you and for enemies. Check this one out. This is fucking good shit. Unfortunately for me, that's the end of, like, the good list, right? That's the end of the pros for this game, because everything else for me either was not great or just didn't work. The biggest problem with this game is this is a fucking survival horror game, right? It's supposed to be a horror game. It's supposed to be scary, creepy. That's something that Dead Space nailed. That's something that Dead Space 100% accomplished, was a creepy feeling. The necromorphs are fucking creepy, scary fucking creatures. Unfortunately, for me, none of the creatures in this game are very scary. They're also, for the most part, just humanoid characters, like slight mutated humanoid characters. Whereas in Dead Space, the necromorphs are very mutated to the point where, like, they don't even have regular arms. Like, their limbs are completely different than necromorphs. A lot of the enemies here, they just look like, generic mutants. And I think that lends itself to not be as scary as if it was some weird, crazy creature that doesn't even resemble a human anymore. And there are a couple of those here and there, but you don't really see them. Also, the enemy variations, there's maybe like 7 enemy types in the entire fucking game. And no, that's not exaggeration. There are very, very few types of enemies in this game. And, that's not necessarily a bad thing if the enemies that we got were unique and different and scary and creepy. But we get a bunch of enemies that, for the most part, just look like people, right? There's some slightly mutated people. And I think that makes this game not as scary as it possibly could be. I also find a lot of the enemy designs to just be uninspired. Like, semi-spoiler warning, because I'm going to show you one of the main bosses from the game here. I'm going to cover up the subtitles so you don't know what they're talking about, so I'm not going to ruin the story. But look at this guy. This is one of the main bosses in the game. This fucking Thanos-looking motherfucker. This looks like some generic fucking thug. Like, it's just, like I said, uninspired. And that's the way I feel about a lot of the enemy types in this game. It's unfortunate. The other thing is, one of the decisions made to step away from being just like Dead Space is where Dead Space was a ranged combat game where you use different types of weapons to remove the limbs of the enemies in order to kill them, but you did so at a distance. The Callisto Protocol wants you to get up in these enemies' faces and hit them with the stun baton. You stun them, and then there'll be a little reticule that pops up, and then it's an instant lock-on, and then you can shoot them to do, like, bonus damage. The other thing that makes this game not scary is this dodge mechanic, which I don't know whose fucking idea this dodge mechanic is, but it's broken. It really is. Like, when you think of a dodge mechanic in a game, you think, okay, you gotta time the dodge, right? You gotta time it. You got a short window. You gotta time when you hit that dodge. You have a regular dodge. If you're, like, right up to the line, you hit that perfect dodge, usually a little slow down time or some shit like that. And you can do, like, a perfect dodge in this game. But the thing is, there's no skill involved, right? Like, there's no window of time. No, if you want to dodge, all you have to do is be holding left or right on an analog stick. That's it. Just hold left or right. Doesn't matter which one. And then some enemies will have like 2 swings. Some will have 3 swings. Some will have, I think, up to 5 swings. All you do is you alternate the direction of the fucking stick. Hold the stick to the left, you'll dodge. They won't hit you. They will never hit you. Hold the stick to the left, fucking dodge. Oh, flip to the right, dodge the next hit. Switch to the left, dodge the next hit. Like, they can't hit you. It makes no fucking sense. Like, this game would be a million times better if they ditched this fucking dodge system and replaced it with a block and parry system. A block and parry system that actually required skill. Because this dodge system requires no skill whatsoever. None. Here's a great example of this, right? They introduce enemy variations later on in the game where it's the regular enemies, but after a couple of hits, tentacles will start to kind of like come out of their stomach, and if you don't shoot the stomach in time, they will morph or evolve into a harder version of the character, and they will now do more damage, and they also take more hit points. So here's a clip of me fighting one of the upgraded versions, right? Because you see the guy at the end of this corridor, you see him change into the upgraded version, and watch how easily I fuck this dude up. And this is on the standard difficulty. I didn't turn it down to easy. This is the regular difficulty. The dodge system makes the game less scary. As a matter of fact, here, I'm going to show you a boss fight. Well, technically mini boss fight, but still, a mini boss fight. Where you essentially have to just dodge the entire time because you can't melee this boss. You can't walk up to this boss and try to hit him with your stun baton. You won't be able to hit them. So what you have to do is dodge their attacks, and then shoot them with your weapons. They will never hit you, because all you have to do is hold a direction on the analog stick. And in the case of this enemy, because they're not throwing combinations, they're not throwing like right cross, left cross, right cross like some of the regular enemies do, this mini boss is like one big swing, then a pause, one big swing, then a pause. You literally only have to hold the thumbstick to one direction. That's it. Just circle around the boss, holding your thumbstick in one direction, and you will perfectly dodge their shit every time. Well, not perfectly, because perfectly would be if you did it at the last minute to slow down time, but the point is they will never hit you. Ever. It's broken. And then if you need to reload, all you do is fucking hit reload, and then start circling to the left or circling to the right, and then again, you will dodge every time. This fundamentally breaks the game. It really does. And I'm not trying to say that you'll never get hit in this game, because no, you'll get hit, because there's enemies all around, right? And this mini boss that I just showed you, you actually fight this same mini boss 4, maybe 5 times, and the other times they're going to be throwing other enemies at you that are off screen. So while you're dodging this enemy, you're going to have other ones spitting shit at you and trying to come up and hit you from behind. So you're still going to get hit. It's not like it's impossible to get hit, or you're never going to die. You will die in this game. This game is not a easy game, right? It's not like, oh, you just fucking walk right through the game. But this dodge mechanic does make it infinitely easier than it would have been if they used a block and parry system. And because of that, especially if you're coming up to an enemy where it's just one-on-one, like, even if they had a block and parry system, one-on-one with an enemy, there's a chance you'll miss the parry window. There's a chance that you may not block in time. With this dodge system, there is no chance that you will not dodge a hit if it's just you and another enemy one-on-one. I mean, unless you absolutely fuck up, there is no chance, because all you have to do is hold the analog stick in this direction or that direction. the dodge system for me is one of the reasons why this game is not as scary as Dead Space. Because anytime I went into a combat encounter, especially if there were a handful of enemies, it's easy to deal with those enemies. Like, for probably the first third of the game, I barely used my weapons. One, because ammunition is very, very limited, and your available resource slots are only a handful, right? Your inventory grows as you play, like every other survival horror game, but in the beginning, you don't have a lot of inventory space. So I would either hoard ammunition or hoard healing items. And I would just use my stun baton to fucking get the job done, because it wasn't hard. Then they introduce a anti-gravity gauntlet at one point that, again, it almost breaks the game, especially because this game's big thing is, it's going to be super gory, and we're going to have all these environmental hazards that you can push enemies into or throw enemies into. So because of that, there's lots of levels where there's just spikes on the walls all over the place, and an enemy will come up to you, and you can just fucking pick them up, bam, throw them right into the fucking spike wall. Instant death. Instant death. Or let's say you're on like a balcony, and enemies come, you just fucking pick them up, throw them off the balcony. Instant death. Like, you don't even have to engage with these enemies. At one point, there was this part that was kind of being a pain in the ass, where you're on this platform that's traveling through the mines or whatever the fuck it's doing, right? And typical video game shit, right? While you're on this platform, enemies are going to start crawling on the platform, and you got to deal with them. And I kept dying, and so I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Instead of having all my ammunition and shit, I went up to because there's these 4 chests that are on the platform that you can open up that have shit in them, and they had a lot of the batteries that you use to recuperate the power of your anti-gravity gauntlet. So I was like, you know what, fuck shotgun shells, give me an extra battery, thank you, sir. Fuck pistol rounds, give me another extra battery, thank you, sir. And I hoarded up on batteries, and then I just sat and waited for the enemies to come to me, and then I just picked them up and fucking threw him off the platform. I felt like fucking Harrison Ford in Air Force One.
Get off my plane.
So yeah, like, these enemies are coming, and wait for them to come in, like, who the fuck are you? Fuck out of here. This guy, off my platform. Who's next? Who's fucking next? This fucking guy? Fucking get off my fucking plane. And this fucking piece of shit, come here, you motherfucker. Fuck out of here. And then I fucking just recuperate my battery, and then wait for the next batch of enemies to come, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Then about halfway into the game, they lean heavily into the stealth mechanics, because you can sneak up behind most of the enemies in the game, and if they don't see you, you can hit X while you're behind them, and then you'll do a stealth kill. It's an instant kill. But the regular enemies, they can see you, so if you're anywhere in their line of sight, they're going to spot you. About halfway through, they introduce these enemies that I'm going to call the Emoteps, because they basically look like Emotep in the fucking Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. But they're essentially the dollar store version of the clickers from The Last of Us. And that they can't see you, but they can hear you. And for whatever fucking reason, the developers decided to lean heavily onto this enemy type, because for a decent stretch of the game, you are going up against almost exclusively these Emotep clicker motherfuckers. And when I say that it is beyond easy, I mean it is beyond easy. As long as you're patient and you try to get around them, it's just instant kill, instant kill, instant kill. And they're so fucking stupid that even though your character is grunting as you're stabbing these fucking people in the abdomen and in the face, and they're yelling out, shrieking out in pain, even though all this noise is happening, the other characters, oblivious to what's happening. There's literally stretches of the game where I just walked around like a fucking prison serial killer. Just fucking walk up to this motherfucker, shank, 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 shank. All right, this motherfucker over here, shank, 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 shank. Hey, where's this good motherfucker think he's going? Shank, 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 shank. And I just walk around, shank everybody, and that's that. Like, they don't even have other enemy variants around, so that maybe one of them does see you, the ones that can see, and you get in a fight with them, and then the noise you're making alerts the ones that can't see? No. I mean, every once in a while, there would be a combination of the enemy types, but for the most part, whenever you're around these Emote Clickers, it's just the Emote Clickers. And I just fucking crouch, walk around, shank, 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 shank city, motherfucker, dead, 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 dead. Fucking murk everybody, right? All you gotta do is be patient. And again, it's another decision, I don't know why they've done this, that makes the game not scary. Like, in The Last of Us, if you're in a room that's filled with clickers, or a building that's got clickers all over the place, it's extremely fucking tense, because any noise you make is going to alert the clicker, right? And you only have one shank you can hold at a time, and that one shank is a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card. The next clicker that runs up to you, instant fucking death. They're going to fucking take you and rip your face open. Instant death. In this game, there's no tension when you're around these Emote Clickers. None whatsoever. I'm not scared. There's no tension. I'm not creeped out. I'm just fucking crawling around, stabbing motherfuckers left and right. Again, it's a decision that they made that A, makes the game not scary, and honestly, it's really not that fun. It really isn't. To just go through these sections stealth killing, because the stealth kills themselves, they're not even really that satisfying feeling. It's just, again, like I said, it's a decision they made that for me, negatively impacts this game. Because these enemies should be way scarier than they are. In appearance, they should be scarier than they are. And if not in appearance, then at least in mechanics, they should be far scarier than they are. Like I said, man, dollar store clickers, because clickers in The Last of Us, fucking scary. Lots of tension as you're trying to navigate around the clickers. Emote clickers in this game, not scary at all. Another issue I had is I found that the checkpoint system in this game, or where the checkpoints were placed, fucking terrible. Terrible. Like, there was this one area that I remember, because I kept dying for whatever reason, and it would keep putting me back at the checkpoint. And where I was, when it put me back at the checkpoint, I first needed to heal up, because my health was about halfway, so I needed to start by healing up. Then there was the machine where you can go and purchase upgrades for your weapons. So I'd have to go to the machine, purchase the upgrades for my weapon, then walk down a flight of stairs, walk across a room, walk down another flight of stairs, walk across another room, and then go into this area where I'm fighting the enemies. If I died, it put me all the way back at the top. So I have to start by healing myself up, going to the vending machine, buying my upgrades, because I'm not going to not upgrade my weapon before I go into the room to fight the enemies. That's fucking stupid. The checkpoint should have been kind of right outside the room where the enemies are. Right? Like at the bottom of the fucking stairs. Why is the checkpoint at the top of the fucking stairs? I have no fucking idea. I really wish I would have captured video of that. For some reason, I didn't save that clip. But it was just, every time I died, I'd have to start by healing up, going to the vending machine, walking down all these fucking stairs, when the checkpoint should have been right outside that room at the bottom of the stairs. That way, all I have to do is walk into that room and fight the enemies. I don't have to start by doing all that other tedious bullshit. I mean, I don't know if they intentionally put the checkpoint in fucked up places as a punishment for dying, but all I can tell you is the checkpoints are in the dumbest fucking locations that make zero sense. Oh, and don't even get me started on the checkpoints that are at the beginning of boss fights. No, not before a boss fight, the beginning of the boss fight. And the reason this could potentially be an issue is sometimes you don't know that just crossing this line is going to initiate the boss fight. And maybe you're a little bit low on health, and had you known, you would have healed up before you went into the boss fight. Well, healing in this game takes fucking forever. In order to heal, you literally fucking take a knee and then take a little fucking gun thing and put it to your neck and inject this fucking green juice in your fucking neck. The animation for healing takes forever. If you are touched, if someone sneezes on you while you are in the middle of that animation, it's interrupted and you will not get healed. You can see how that could be a problem if the fucking boss fight starts and you didn't have a chance to heal up before. And that's it. Like, the boss fight's starting, and if you die, it just restarts the boss fight with you at the same health that you had when you walked in. You do not have the opportunity to heal up beforehand, and trying to heal in the middle of the boss fight is a pain in the fucking ass. And oh man, don't even get me started on the weapon system, because the weapon system, just like the healing, also a pain in the ass. The weapon systems in this game are basically modular weapons. You have two different handles. A handle that's for your smaller weapons, like your pistols and revolvers, and then another handle that's for things like your riot gun or your assault rifle. And you can switch freely between the equipped weapons by tapping left on the D-pad. So let's say you have a revolver on your handle for your pistol, and then you have the riot gun on your handle for the riot gun assault rifle. To switch between them, you just tap left on the D-pad, and you will switch between those two guns. Now, if you want to change which gun is on that handle, you tap right on the D-pad, and then from a little list of the guns that pops up, you select the one that you want, and then you will pull the slide of the gun you currently have equipped off, and then you will put the slide of the new gun on. And, let's say you want to have the revolver and the hand cannon both equipped. You can't, because only one can be on your pistol handle at a time. Same thing with the riot gun and the assault rifle. You can't have the riot gun equipped and the assault rifle equipped at the same time and use left on the D-pad to switch between them, because you can only have one on that particular handle at any given time, if that makes sense. So like I said, to switch between the currently equipped weapons, you tap left on the D-pad. Animation is just like the healing animation. Slow as fucking shit, and if someone sneezes on you, the animation is interrupted and you won't actually switch weapons. This can be problematic, because let's say my riot gun is out of bullets and I'm trying to switch back to my hand cannon. Well, if I get interrupted at all while I'm in that animation when I tap left on the D-pad, I won't actually switch to my hand cannon, and I'll still be holding that fucking riot gun that's got no bullets. So it would be nice to be put back before the boss fight, so I can then make decisions going into the boss fight, because like I said, a lot of times you don't know that you're crossing that plane to initiate the boss fight. And more than once in this game, I would find myself in a boss fight where I was starting with 50% health, a gun that had no ammo in it, and then the other gun that had almost no ammo. And it's like, it would have been nice to be put before the boss fight if I die, so I could heal up, and then go into my inventory and look at how much ammo I have for each gun, and then equip the best guns I think for that situation, right? The ones that have the most ammo, that are going to give me the best possible outcome going into the boss fight. But instead, you find yourself in this fucking Groundhog's Day loop of starting a boss fight with less than ideal health and less than ideal weapons, and trying to heal during the boss fight, a pain in the ass, really, really slow, can't get interrupted. Trying to change the weapons out during the boss fight, pain in the ass, really, really slow, can't get interrupted. And there were a couple boss fights that were a pain in the ass for me, not because the boss fight itself was hard, but because I was gimped going into the fight, and there wasn't a fucking thing I could do about it. I didn't know that the boss fight was about to start. Had I known, I would have healed up and probably switched what weapons I was going to go into the fight with. This again, it's a minor thing, I guess, but it's something that happened to me multiple times, and something that wouldn't even be an issue if the checkpoint system made fucking sense. But this is what they've chosen to do. Again, I don't know if they've done this on purpose to punish you for dying, or if they just fucking put checkpoints in weird places. I don't know. But for me, your checkpoint system fucking sucks. Back to the positive side of things real quick, though. The game, for the most part, at least for me, ran really well. I experienced next to no bugs, 0 crashes. The only bug I would say that I experienced, there was kind of 2 of them. One was sometimes during the death animations, the enemy wouldn't be lined up properly with your body. So, like, if they were, like, gouging your eyes out or some shit, like, you would see, like, your eyes getting gouged out, but, like, their thumbs weren't lined up with your eyes. Shit like that, where they weren't lined up properly. At one point, it was showing me the prompt to stealth kill an enemy that was on the other side of fucking glass, and you can't kill them, but the prompt was up. But that's really it. And then one of the death animations, it was some weird shit. I don't know if this is a bug or if this was an artistic decision, but this is the only death animation that I'm like, I don't know about this one. It's a little bit weird, because this dude starts wailing on your face. I'm showing you here in the background. This dude's wailing on your face. Not a problem with that. It's a problem with, for some reason, your eyes disappear and they just become these giant fucking scooped out holes in your face. It's weird. It must be a bug because it doesn't make any fucking sense and it looks weird. Like, look at this. You look fucking weird. So I'm guessing that must be a bug. But that's the only death animation I noticed where there was something off about it, aside from the ones where there was a misalignment. Other than that, bug-free for me. Also, certain effects don't hold up or look as good as other ones. For example, the fire in this game doesn't look that great. And you can tell it's made up of a bunch of little 2D images that actually spin as you walk around the fire to try to give this illusion of a 3-dimensional fire no matter which direction you're looking at it from, when it's really a bunch of 2D stacked images that just rotate with you as you walk around. Just not the greatest looking compared to a lot of the other effects in the game that actually do look really great. So, I mean, all in all, the Callisto Protocol is not a horrible game. It's not a bad game. It's just, it's not the game I was hoping it was going to be. There's a lot of decisions that they made, and I understand they were trying to separate themselves from the Dead Space franchise, but the decisions they made, like I said, just for me, do not work or don't work as good as I think the developers thought that they did. And I've said multiple times in the past that I was kind of interested in this little battle that we're having, because Dead Space is getting a next-gen remake that comes out like next month. And here we have the Callisto Protocol, made by some of the people that made the original Dead Space, that's coming out in such close proximity. So I thought it was interesting at which game would be the better Dead Space, right? Is the Dead Space remake going to be the better Dead Space? Or is the Callisto Protocol, the Dead Space spiritual successor, going to be the better Dead Space? And having played Callisto Protocol, I don't think I don't think it's going to be the better of the two games, or at least I fucking hope not. Because if the Dead Space remake is worse than Callisto Protocol, oh man, I'm not going to be a fucking happy gamer. Again, this game wasn't terrible, just not as good as I think it could have been. And I would hope that the Dead Space remake, especially because the foundation laid out by the original Dead Space is so good. It's so easy to remake that and have it still be amazing. So it's going to be really hard for them to fuck that one up. So I hope that is better than this one. Because if it isn't, then I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, so for me, if I had to give this game a score, I give it like a 7, and that's pushing it. I've beaten it now, obviously. I have no desire to go back and replay this game. I'm not going to platinum this game. Been there, done that, beat it. It is what it is, but Callisto Protocol for me, not what I hoped for, not what I think a lot of gamers are expecting, and not in a good way. So here's looking at the Dead Space remake that comes out soon, and hopefully that will be the game that we are all hoping for. And that's all I got for you guys on this one. And that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Have you played Callisto Protocol? What are your thoughts? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And does playing it make you less or more excited for the Dead Space remake? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you sexy motherfuckers on the next Supernova.